Hello, 12th graders. I hope you had a great weekend and you're all ready to get back to class. Actually, today you're going to have your reading evaluation. This evaluation is a practice test of the TOEFL test. Both in class and in videos for these virtual classes we are having now, you have studied some reading strategies to help you go through a reading test. We're going to review these reading strategies so you get more prepared for the test you're going to do. First of all, there's a number of reading strategies that you can possibly use in a reading evaluation or while reading any kind of document, a book, or whatever you need or want to read. Okay? Some of these strategies are dynamic reading. They're strategies to help you read very fast and save time, but they do not go very deep. They're very shallow. Other strategies are strategies for studying a text, which take more time, but you gather more information from that. There are also some other strategies that are not so deep, not so shallow. They're medium, okay? So the idea here is that you get to know all these possible strategies, you test them, because sometimes you come with a predator mindset like, I already know how I read my text, and that's fine. But believe me, you're going to enter college, university, and you're going to have much more difficult texts to read, and you're going to have to review all your methods, okay? So the most you can try and you can test, the best it is for you, okay? And just like anything else, these reading strategies, they require trying. You need to try it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, so you can be sure if it can really work with you or not, okay? So let's go through these strategies that we're talking about. First of all, let's talk about these dynamic strategies for some kind of fast reading. Why would you want to read something fast? Well, reason number one is you don't have time. Like you're doing a test like the TOEFL test. It has a limited time and you're running out of time, but you still have one big text to read. What do? Well, you can use one of these dynamic tools to help you out. Another possible reason is that you are lazy, and that's a pretty reasonable reason. For example, if you have to read a book, a technical book for college, sometimes it takes very long to read the entire book, and you need to have a general idea of what that is about and get deeper details about just one chapter of that book. So it might be a good idea to make a dynamic reading on the rest of the book so you understand how that chapter is contextualized and how it relates to other ideas. But what are these dynamic reading methods? I'm going to mention two here, okay? We can talk about skimming and scanning. And in a very general way, it's like just going through the text very quickly, not really reading, to look for the important information. While in skimming, you just try to understand what the text is about in a very general way. Remember, you're saving time, so you're being very practical. On scanning, you are doing the same thing but looking for some key information like numbers and percentages and some names or dates that help you understand some of these key factors that might be answers to some questions in a test. Now let's test this method. Let's see how it works in practice. Here we have a text that we can use as example. This fast reading would go through this text in like a minute or less than that. So I'm going to go through and read the words that I think that are important here and might help me understand this text. So black hole, postdoctoral researcher, fame, Andrew Kale, telescope, 850,000 to 900,000 lines of code, getting all the attention. Oh, that's important. sexist, misapprehensions, algorithm, team of scientists. Okay, and that's it. Now, these keywords can help you understand a text, even if you don't really read it. So these are the keywords that we highlighted. If we read them again, we can have an idea of what story this text is telling. So take a look. Black hole postdoctorate researcher, fame, KO, telescope, number of lines of code, getting all the attention, sexist, misapprehension, algorithm, and team of scientists. So what can we try to understand from this? And be careful because we can have lots of misunderstandings from not really reading a text. But that's the idea, getting some misunderstandings and some things that might be correct because you're running out of time, okay? So maybe I would say that a team of scientists discovered a black hole uh, that's related also with the telescope, and somebody got the fame like this Kale or the postdoctoral researcher, or that's him, I don't know. And somebody's accusing somebody of being sexist. But there has been misapprehensions, misunderstandings about it, okay? And these codes and the algorithm must be related to this discovery of the black hole. So it was a really quick reading, and we can guess what this story is about, okay? If you do that with a little more attention, you might be a little more accurate on what this reading is about, okay? But we're going to go now through the second method. Now, the second method we're going through is the selective highlight method. I've sent a video for you to watch about that, but I would like to make my own comments about this. It was my intention to be in a class online with everybody, but that did not happen. So let's use this opportunity so I can explain a little about this method. You might be familiar with highlighting, using a highlighter like this to highlight the most important information on your text. Actually, if you don't have a highlighter, you can use a pen or a pencil and just underline the things you think are important, okay? It's a good idea that if you use more than one color to organize the ideas, like separate what is really important, then separate from what is like a deeper explanation of that, and then you use two colors, it might be a good idea. But you should keep a legend telling what does each color mean, so you don't forget when you're going back to the text to read that again. And the whole idea of highlighting is finding the most important information in this text and making it more clear for you to see. But how do you determine what is more important, what is less important? Well, one good way to do that is skimming the article, like we just studied, okay? You can quickly skim it, and once you have an idea of what the text is about, you can come to the second step and make the highlights, okay? But when you make the highlights, be careful not to add too much information. The idea is to make the text more clear, so you need to cut lots of things out. That's the reason why we say this is a selective highlight. Also, it is important to make it to choose some words that make it possible for you to read easily if you just try to read the highlights. So you can go quickly through the text and you can still understand that if you need to go back to the text. Okay, this also works for books, just like the other method that we mentioned before. Now, let's see this applied in practice. Okay, I have a text that I already highlighted, what I found was important, and let's read the highlights and see if you can understand. So this is the text that I highlighted. It's the same that we read before, but remember, this is a little deeper, so we're going to understand this a little better. Actually, much better. We should at least. I used two colors here, actually three. In yellow are my real highlights. In gray, I put some words that might be explaining my highlights a little better, so they might help. When I read, I'm going to read only the yellow ones, but if I get to a question that requires a little more information, it might be in these gray ones. And last, the red one is just one example of a new word that maybe we go through and we do not understand, but we can try to understand in context, okay? So I marked it like I'm supposing this is an important word, and we're going to make an effort to understand that. So let's start reading here. Catherine Bowman developed algorithm. Kale is white and male. Memes contrasting Bowman and Kale. Responsible for 850,000 of the 900,000 lines. So that's what the memes were about. Uh, and the meme said that done all the real work. That's Kale. That's completely wrong. Kale said, appreciate the congratulations. If you are sexist, reconsider your priorities. Singling out any one scientist create misapprehensions. No one person made image or this image. It required a team. So we can understand pretty well the story now just reading these highlights. We can see that a woman developed the algorithm. People were making memes contrasting the woman with Kale, which is probably another person in the team, and saying that Kale did all the work. And the text said that this is completely wrong, and also Kale does not support that idea. He says that if you're a sexist, you should reconsider your priorities. And he appreciates the congratulations. So maybe people are congratulating him just because they don't want to congratulate Bowman, who is a woman. Okay, and then the text finishes by saying that no one person can make this image. It was the work of a team. Okay, so it's not correct to give the credit to Bowman, neither to Kale. It's a team who was working behind this. And what's the meaning of that word that is marked in red? A corrective. Well, maybe based on the context. Uh, let's imagine this relation. Before this red word, we have a part stating that this woman, Bowman, was responsible for the algorithm. And then after the word, we have a part saying that people are making memes and they are saying that Kale is responsible for most of the code because they do not accept that. So this corrective is like it's probably a way that the sexist people that do not accept the woman to do something that is a breakthrough that is very good for the science, they give the responsibility for this for Kale. So they make things correct in their own little world. So maybe that's the meaning of the word that I marked in red. Now, next method would be a study reading. Study reading is a reading with lots of attention, in which you try to understand the main idea of the paragraph. You can separate that, you can write that down. Don't use a sentence, just write ideas, okay? So you can relate ideas and not make a new text. So you separate this main idea and the supporting ideas that give more information and explain this main idea in each of the paragraphs. So you study one by one. Also, you have to separate the new words, the words that you do not understand, and try to understand them in context. And then look for the real meaning. If you got it right, great. If you didn't, write it down and write some examples so you can memorize them. So I hope you experiment with all these methods, and I hope this can help you do your TOEFL test. Good luck and goodbye. Stay safe and stay at home.